Okay, looks like that the recording has started. Okay, so hi everyone. My name is Dr. Samantha Davis, and I am the undergrad research program coordinator for the Center for Science and Engineering Partnerships. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to, before advancing my slide, I want to thank everybody for making time to come today. I hope that this is a really valuable session for you. The idea is that we really wanted to have an opportunity for people to ask questions about our programs and understand what we are offering, especially with the constraints of this summer. And so I'm going to talk about the programs and kind of give you an orientation to the EUREKA, Gorman, and SACNAS Scholars Program. And then we are going to be able to hear from some of the current scholars. So the rough schedule today is that I'm going to talk about the programs a little bit, talk to you about why you should get involved in research programs, and then explain a little bit about each of the programs that we're offering today, which is EUREKA, Gorman, and SACNAS. Talk about how they're similar, how they're different, what the eligibility requirements are. And then I'll take any questions at that time. So I'm gonna ask if you have questions as I'm going, put them in the chat, and we'll be able to come back to them after about 20-25 minutes. And so after I'm done talking about the programs, giving an overview, we will switch over to having some of our current scholars go through and introduce themselves and talk a little bit about what their research projects are. And then you'll have an opportunity to ask the scholars questions about their experiences, to get some tips from them, to learn about, what it's like doing research, especially during a pandemic, things like that. So go ahead and put your questions in the chat and save them until I make it through the first part of the presentation. And the scholars will answer any questions in the chat if they can. Otherwise, we'll save them for the second half of today. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm recording. Yes, okay. So now I can get started. Okay, so like I said, the first part of this is if we were in a regular classroom, I would probably ask people, to raise your hands if you have, what major are you in, and have you ever done research? But since we're not in a classroom, and it would be harder for me to get that sense with, actually over 100 people in this Zoom room, I'm going to first begin this by talking just about research in general, because I have a feeling that many people in here actually don't have any research experience at UCSB. And people might have, research from high school, or they may have been part of a program somewhere else. But I wanted to really just start this off by talking about why you should do research while you're at UCSB. So I'm guessing we have freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and maybe even some seniors in here who are interested in research as one of the options that they might want to take part in this year. And so I'm making the case that there are four main reasons why, specifically why I think you should do research. And I think a lot of people would agree with these. But specifically, my point here is that while you're a student at UCSB, even during this crazy pandemic time, it's important to investigate your major and kind of dive deeper than just sticking to what's happening in the classes. So one main reason is that that you should do research or consider research or some kind of option like that is that you can explore career options. So one of the things that a lot of people don't know when they get to UCSB, and depending on if you have any researchers in your family, you may not know this even before you get here, is that research is a way to use what you're learning, and it's a viable career option. It's really important to know, to kind of explore some options while you're at UCSB, while you're in your major, while you're connected to all the resources on campus, to understand more about like what you might want to do after you graduate. And research is an option. Research is essentially a formalized way of asking questions. So you learn how to ask questions and gather information. And whether or not you decide to be a researcher for your career, it's really valuable to take this approach to engaging with your major. So that's my second reason. for me, I did research as a junior in undergrad. I actually went to undergrad at UCSB, and my junior year is when I got interested in research. And I found that once I started involving myself in my research projects, my classes, I started to understand things a lot better. I started to make connections, and my upper division classes actually got easier. And it wasn't like the material change, it was just I was engaged with it at a deeper level. And so I really would encourage that I would really say that research is a way to engage with your major, with what you're learning in your classes, and think about it at a deeper level. And I would ask the scholars their experiences about that as well. It's a great way to prepare for professional school. So obviously, if you want to go to graduate school, you're going to need to have a research experience to decide what you want to research and where you might apply. But if you're thinking about any kind of professional school, medical school, dental school, even going to like law school, a lot of times these programs, they want to see how you've engaged, how you've deepened your study, and research is a key part of successful applications. Most of who we're targeting are people who are interested in research at some level, but it's totally fine to do research and be like, wow, that's not for me. That's actually really valuable, because then you have information about what kind of careers are not for you. And then the fourth one is building your network. So this is something that is, I think, undervalued by undergrads at UCSB. I meet a lot of juniors and seniors who are thinking, oh, wow, I'd really like to apply to this fellowship, scholarship, internship, graduate school, medical school, but I don't know anybody who can write me a letter of recommendation. I don't have any connections with people at UCSB. So if that's you, don't worry, but think about research as one of the ways that you can build your network. This network is so important to you, and it might sound really self-serving to be like, oh, it's important so people can write you letters, but it's really important to build relationships with people that go beyond, hey, this person got a good grade in my class. If you're doing research, you're building relationships with faculty, graduate students, postdoctoral scholars, and other undergrads, your peers who are doing research. And all these people will be working with you at different levels. And one of the valuable things is, yes, faculty or graduate students can write you letters of recommendation, which you need to apply to graduate school or other opportunities, but they also can point you in different directions. So if you're in a research lab and you're like, you know what I really want to do is I really want to study this. Well, the faculty's like, oh, I know a lab at Stanford doing that. Let me just write you an email and connect you to the people doing that research. And so that's another really valuable resource that you can get by doing research while you're an undergrad. So just really quickly, there are kind of two time periods where you can do research, or you could do both of these. So I'm going to talk about both options today, the summer versus the school year research program. And so the summer is what we have. All of our programs have a summer component, but some of them have a school year component additionally. So the summertime is great, and it's really thought of as like an immersion. So you're full-time, you aren't taking classes, or you're taking minimal classes, and your projects are designed to go quickly and to get results that, not necessarily to get the final results, but to be starting to get results and feedback quickly. And you learn a lot in a very short period of time. Our summer portion this year is 8 weeks. So that might sound like a long time, but it's a relatively short time when you're doing research. The school year component is you have to balance the research with doing your classes and other things that you have. So the school year research is part-time, about 10 hours a week is usual for our programs and students. It's extremely challenging to balance your time, and progress can be really slow. But if you're doing research, if you extend your research beyond the summer and you get into the school year research, you can take on longer term projects, which can turn into senior thesis projects, publications. You can present your research at conferences. So there's pros and cons for each. And so again, I'm going to talk about options that we have for summer and school year research. So the first program I want to talk about is the EUREKA Scholars Program. So the EUREKA Scholars Program is designed and paid for by the university, by UCSB, to provide an opportunity for first year students because it's shown that number one, it can be challenging for first year students, freshmen, to get into research labs, but the benefits are super clear that as students, the earlier students get involved in research, the more they're engaged with their majors, the more likely they are to graduate and go on and do something with those degrees. So the university is investing in this by providing the EUREKA Scholarship Program as an opportunity for freshmen. So you apply in your freshman year and you participate in an 8-week summer internship. And it's for all STEM majors. So any STEM major can apply. Again, it's for first years. And if you are having any questions, I see stuff happening in the chat. Again, if you're just coming in, I'm going to answer the questions at the end, or the scholars can be answering stuff in the chat right now. So if you have questions, put it in the chat. Again, it's an invaluable opportunity to explore your discipline and major. We help you connect with UCSB faculty and graduate student mentors that will help you develop and do your research project. And we also provide support from me and super mentors who are graduate students to help you kind of navigate the process of doing research, and also provide a lot of professional development. We do things like have career talks, we have networking events, we have workshops on science communication. So we do a lot to help you build skills along with the hard research skills that you're getting from your research project. So for the EUREKA Scholars Program, again, the commitment is a 8-week summer program. And so the applicants, you've got to be a UCSB student, US citizen or permanent resident, AB 540 okay. Email me if you have any questions about that requirement. You've got to be in a STEM major and be interested in doing STEM research with a researcher at UCSB. And we especially encourage students who have been in our programs before, especially SIMS, or any program at UCSB, some of the freshman summer start programs, Promise Scholars, any of these groups, we especially encourage you to apply. And this year, the deadline is Sunday, February 21st at 11:59 p.m. So I'm going to transition now to talking about Gorman Scholars. And what I'm going to do is they share a lot of the same things, but there are key differences. So now I'm just going to talk about what are the key differences between EUREKA and Gorman, and then I'll move on to SACNAS and tell you the key differences there. But you'll want to go to our websites, which I'll show at the end, for more information. And maybe if some of the scholars, maybe you guys could link the website, the CSEP website in the chat. If you can do that before I do, that'd be great. So the Gorman Scholars Program. Okay, so EUREKA was for first year students. You apply in your first year, and it's an 8-week summer internship. For Gorman, it's open to first through third years. And it is an 8-week summer internship plus a paid academic year research internship. So you get a chance to experience both. And this is open to students who are in their first through third years. So as long as you have one summer plus one academic year, you can apply for this program. So if you're a fourth year, but you're planning on doing 5 years, you can apply as well. Again, it's very similar. The 8-week summer session is very similar. We help you find a research mentor in a project. You do professional development with us and research skill development with your research mentor. But the differences are bolded here. So another difference between EUREKA and Gorman is that this scholarship is going to provide financial support to attend professional or scientific society meetings. So this is relatively rare for undergrads to receive funding to go to a research conference. And of course, go to can mean many different things in the time of the pandemic, but there's support for you to present your research externally, so outside of UCSB, which is a great opportunity to get practice doing scientific communication, but also get an opportunity to build your network, to talk to people outside of UCSB. Eligibility, really similar to EUREKA. Like I said, you've got to be a full-time student and must have at least 1.5 years. So you've got to have a summer plus an academic year before you graduate. Got to be a STEM major, and we encourage SIMS students to apply, or anybody who's been in other research bridge programs, and the same citizenship requirements as EUREKA, and the same deadline. We actually have a common application deadline, so it's February 21st, 11:59 p.m. Okay, so SACNAS Scholars is the third program. This is brand new. It just came online this past year. And so it's very similar to Gorman. It's a 8-week summer. So everybody's doing the 8-week summer. And then it also extends into the academic year as a paid academic year internship. The similar structure as the Gorman Scholars Program, including the financial support to attend scientific society meetings. But the bonus with the SACNAS Scholars Program is it's funded and supported by the SACNAS, Society for the Advancement of Chicanos and Native Americans in Science, undergrad chapter at UCSB. And so there's leadership training and opportunities to serve the campus community through the SACNAS undergraduate chapter, and that's built into this program. So this might be for you if you want to do research, but you're really also motivated to do outreach. You care about scientific outreach to underserved communities. You care about helping out your peers. And I'm not saying that people who would apply to EUREKA don't care. I'm just saying that you want specific, you want to engage specifically on these topics as part of your internship. And SACNAS has the same eligibility requirements as Gorman. So I'm not going to go through it again. This video again will be available in a few days, and I'll also be posting these slides on our website, so you can check them out at a later time if you don't have time to write it all down right now. But you can also go to our website and find more detailed descriptions about all of this. So hopefully someone put that in the chat, but if they didn't, just search CSEP UCSB and you'll find our sites. Go to the undergrad programs and you'll be able to find all of these. Okay, so this is the sort of plan for the 2021 summer internship, and this is for Gorman, EUREKA, and SACNAS. I just forgot to add SACNAS to that subtitle. So the program dates are going to be June 21st through August 13th. And we are planning that we're going to do this either virtually or in person, depending on what campus allows, but we're planning for the full program this summer. So we will help you find an independent research project, including faculty mentors. I should say, if you already are in a lab, if you already have a faculty mentor, you're welcome to apply as well. We are happy to help you at whatever stage. If you are in a lab and you really want to join a group and receive training, that's perfectly fine. You can stay in that lab and still be part of our program. If you are not in a lab, you haven't had any contact yet, we can help you find mentors. We're going to have science communication skills development throughout the summer, weekly professional development seminars, opportunities to network with faculty as well as industry professionals. And we also have all of our scholars do a spring quarter 1-unit seminar that is introducing the students to each other, also to our community, as well as the process of, conducting research at the university. So just quickly, I'm running out of time, so I just want to talk about a couple of examples. So you can go to our websites, the EUREKA website and the Gorman website. The SACNAS is new, so we don't have it up yet. But you can read about our past scholars and see the types of projects that they've done. It's really cool, and you'll see that it's super broad. I love EUREKA, Gorman, and SACNAS, especially because there's students doing all kinds of different things, and we have a really neat community that forms because of it. So Haley was a student in 2017 in EUREKA, and she was studying using telescope data to study supernovas. So she joined a research lab, a physics lab on campus, because she was really interested in astronomy. And it was really awesome to see Haley's growth and how she just got super excited about her project. And I won't try to explain it all. If you're interested, just check out her profile on the EUREKA page and you can read more about her project and even watch her presentation video. Also have an example from Gorman Scholars Program. This is Ezra, who was a scholar in 2017 as well. And Ezra was very interested in the Zika virus. This was pre-COVID. So the virus du jour for our UCSB virology labs was a Zika virus. And so Ezra was really interested in characterizing aspects of the protein interaction, RNA protein interaction. And he actually was working with his mentors and was coming up with an idea that was brand new to the lab. So he was able to start on a new project. And so sometimes people get into a lab and they talk with their mentors and they're like, hey, we have this idea that we want you to work on. Other times there's opportunities to propose your own idea. It's all good. You don't have to feel stressed about, oh, I can't apply to this program because I don't have any research ideas yet. That's not, we can ask our scholars how it usually works, but we totally encourage you to apply, even if you are just hearing about research today and you're like, oh, that sounds really cool. Everybody's welcome, at all these levels. So if you want to apply, here are the links to our EUREKA and Gorman pages. The SACNAS page, we're still building our new website. So the SACNAS page right now is just a single page, but you can go to that link and get all of the information. And I'll put those in the chat when I'm done talking, and I can think about two things at once. The main thing to note is that you want to check out the website, and if you're interested in applying, get started ASAP. The first thing you'll want to do is decide who's going to write you a letter of recommendation. So for these 3 programs, you need a minimum of 1 letter, but you can have up to 2. So if you have any questions about letters of recommendation, check out our FAQs on the website. And if you still have questions after that, just email me and we can talk about it. And then after that, you'll want to get started on your personal statement, your resume, and you'll need unofficial transcripts. So unofficial transcripts are easy. You just screenshot your transcripts and attach those as PDFs. So the personal statement, basically what you want to do is read, the way that we've done it this year is we're asking questions. So instead of saying, tell us why you want to get into this program, and you read an essay, which we've done in previous years, this year we wanted to make it, I think, more straightforward and easier for students. So we're asking you specific questions about, asking you to share experiences and share why you're interested in research or the different fields you're interested in, and give examples of different attributes of your work ethic and things like that. So read the prompt really carefully. I would suggest making a draft separately, open up a Google Doc or a Word doc, answer the questions there, get feedback from people, edit, and then submit it, copy and paste it into the application form. That will help you to make sure that you put enough energy into it and it's not just a quick response. And it'll also help you avoid something really tragic, like your internet goes down and you lose everything that you were working on. We are really looking for you to tell us how you can benefit from participation and what you bring to the program. So what people always have trouble with the second one. And so just to clarify, what that means is thinking about, we're making a scholar group. So we want to know what kinds of things does everybody bring, and so we can have a really good group. So people have talked about, I'm really level-headed in crisis. Like I actually am a EMT, or I'm a crisis hotline operator, and so I really stay calm under pressure, or that's one example of maybe kind of extreme. It can also be like, I really I'm a mediator with my friends, and I feel like I'm really good at listening to people and helping to facilitate difficult conversation. Or it can be like, I have a lot of skills in this particular lab technique, and I really want to take these skills and apply them in this new area. So that's the way to think about that. If you're having any trouble with your statement or any of your documents, you could check out resources offered through CLAS, Career Services, EOP, ONDAS, any of these student organizations. They also have interview skill sessions. And so the easiest way to do that would be to find these groups on social media. and or just check Shoreline, and you can find a lot of them there posting about what they're offering. So this is my last slide. Application deadline is February 21st. And it's 11:59, and all the components of your application are due by then. So that is still plenty of time. It's a month away. It's plenty of time to get this application together. So if you're interested, after we leave today, the first thing you should do is check out the program website, read the overviews, how to apply, the FAQs. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to email me. My email is there, sldavis@ucsb.edu. And again, we're going to offer this internship either virtual or in person. We're really excited to be able to offer the full length version. We had more time to plan this year than last year. And so we don't know, what the campus will decide, what the guidelines will be, but we're definitely going to be offering programs. Okay, so let's transition over into questions. The chat looks popping, so I don't even know what to do. Let's see. So I see a lot of questions being answered. So can I ask, let's see. So people say, okay, there's like way too many. So how about, I will look at a couple of them, and if you want to unmute and ask, you can do that. Otherwise, we'll have the scholars introduce themselves as I'm sorting through this. Someone asked, can you apply to more than one program? Yes, you can. As long as you're eligible, you can apply to, if you're a freshman, you could apply to all three that I talked about today, for example. We also have the Mark Scholars Program, which I'm not talking about today, but if you're interested, you could check out our website. It's for sophomores who are interested in biomedical research. So check out that website as well. Let's see. People are having trouble reaching the CSEP website. LOL. Like what? So that's new. I don't know what the...
Quick question.
Yeah, please.
If it is to be held like on campus or the program, is it required to get a housing there, or what's the situation on that?
That is, so we'll have to figure that out. We're just hearing from the housing about what their plans are for the summer. What we usually do is provide funding for the students, and then students find their housing. And so if we were in person, that is how we would proceed. But that being said, we're probably going to be really flexible depending on what people need. But yeah, we don't have any information about that yet. That's going to be something that will be decided as the campus tells us what they're going to allow and what they're not going to allow.
Oh, but like, if it is to be held on campus, the housing money is likely to come out, or is it usually work like that? Like they offer us the money for housing?
Yes. So if it's held on campus, what usually happens is the students find housing and use the money that we give to pay for housing. And you can ask the scholars about that. Like previous year's scholars, of course, this group, we had a virtual session, so it's less, this group might not know all of that, but in the past, basically the students find housing through other means. We don't offer housing as part of this program. We give funding and the students find housing. However, I'm not saying that's how it would work this year. There might be more rules this year. And so I'm not comfortable speculating more because it might just be very different this year. Does that make sense?
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so I see a lot of questions being answered in the chat. So people are asking about specific questions about their situations. So if you have a specific question about your situation, email me. That's the best way to handle it. Right now, I'm going to have the scholars introduce themselves. And while they're doing that, I'm going to try to figure out what's going on in this chat. And then we'll move over to just a Q&A session. So can we start with Miranda, please?
Hi, everyone. I'm Miranda. I'm currently a third year cell bio major, and I'm a current Gorman scholar. I'm in a neuroengineering lab at Santa Barbara where I create data analysis pipelines and 3D print parts for a virtual foraging task with mice. Sounds really difficult, but it's basically like virtual reality for mice.
Okay, thank you. And Caroline.
Hi everybody, I'm Caroline. I'm a second year CCS chemistry and biochemistry major. I'm in a neurobiology lab and I'm basically looking at Alzheimer's and seeing what genes are associated with Alzheimer's progression and stuff.
Woo. Okay, Dominic.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dominic. I am a second year pre-bio major. I am currently in a bioengineering lab with Mike Wilson, where I look at how we can use an optogenetic system, which is a light protein system, to influence embryonic stem cell fate.
Awesome, thank you. Let's go with Alan.
Hi everyone, my name is Alan. I'm a third year chemical engineering major, and I'm currently in a bioengineering lab.
Thanks, Alan. Let's see, Marianne.
Hi, wait.
Oh,
me or
both
the
of you
other?
are here. So I was actually calling on Marianne, but go ahead.
Sorry. This happened last time too.
I
Okay.
know.
Hi, my name is Marian. I'm a second year CCS computing major. I'm in the EUREKA program, and I'm working in a CS lab, the Dynamo lab, but I'm working on an interdisciplinary project where I'm using Bayesian networks to infer dynamic microbial networks networks in patients who have prediabetes.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, Marianne.
Hello, my name is Marianne, and I'm a third year biology major, and I'm in the SACNAS program, and I work in Dr. Craig Montel's lab, and my project is trying to find and characterize elements in fatty acid taste, attraction, and aversion in fruit flies.
Thank you. Octavio.
Hello, everyone. My name is Octavio. I'm a third year biology major. I'm currently working in the Denise Montel lab during anastasis. Anastasis is basically cell survival. And more specifically, I'm studying neurodegeneration in the brain related to Alzheimer's disease and the molecular pathways that are involved in that. I'm also a SACNAS scholar too. Yeah.
Perfect, thank you. Before I keep going with the scholars, I'm just saying scholars are doing an awesome job answering questions in the chat. Thank you. If what we'll do after the scholars are done, we'll take any questions that haven't been answered. So Miguel.
Hello, my name is Miguel. I'm a second year chemical engineering student. I'm currently working in a chemical engineering lab that focuses on, well, it's more bioengineering, I guess. It looks at the enzymes in anaerobic fungi that are found in large herbivores and seeing how well they can break down plant material.
Thank you. Jeffrey.
What's up, everyone? I'm Jeff. I am a Gorman scholar, and I'm in the Beth Pruitt Bioengineering Lab. My research looks at how we can use engineering techniques to turn stem cells into heart cells. So my project is based around that and then studying heart disease.
Awesome. Thank you, Jeff. Anybody else that I'm missing? There are 120 people and I can't see anymore. Any other scholars want to unmute if you're here? I think we got them. Okay. All right. Thank you to the scholars. As you can see, we've got a really diverse group doing all kinds of different things. There are even more people. Obviously, we couldn't have everybody come and be a part of this today. So there's even more students, and we're working to get our website updated so you can read more about what everybody's doing. So let's pull some questions out. So I see that there's a question about how many people are generally accepted for each program. That is actually on the website, so check that out. It may change a little bit, but I think we're pretty set for this year, and it depends on each of the programs. So go ahead and check that out on the site. And so I see that there's the questions about how did you guys manage keeping up with your bio classes, or we can extend this to like other challenging classes and other majors while doing research during a school year. And let's extend this to like doing research. Also, it's a pandemic. Like, how did you guys do this balance? And so anybody who wants to answer can unmute and answer that one.
Well, no one else unmuted, so I guess I'll go first. So just to make sure, the question is like, how do you balance doing research and schoolwork at the same time, right?
That's right.
All right. So I feel like this question is like when answering this question, obviously I feel like this depends on the person a lot. One thing that you should know before like committing to before you like do research, just having a good idea of what workload you can personally handle. Like for me, I know that for me personally, I up to like 16 to 18 units is like my limit. And anything more than that starts to impact my ability to do like research and like extracurricular as well. So like that's my first piece of advice would be like knowing your limits personally so that you can manage your time better. And then my second piece of advice would be being communicative, like communicating well with your mentor on your research project. So like, for example, what I mean by that is that, let's just say that you have like 3 midterms one week. You wouldn't want to go into, like, normally the requirement for your research is 5 to 10 weeks, 5 to 10 hours a week. It's okay to like tell your mentor and be like, hey, I got 3 midterms this week. Can we chill for 1 week? I feel like as long as you communicate it, it should be fine most of the time.
Thanks, Alan. That was a very like complete answer. So I think, so maybe some of the people who work in labs, somebody else could answer, what does your research look like when, you know, your research usually involved hands-on in-person stuff? How has it been adapted in this virtual world? Anybody can unmute on that one.
I could go ahead and speak on that a little. When we started these interviews, it's like when COVID first started and we didn't really know the degree, so we all had to like adapt our projects. One thing that I do a lot more of is like data analysis, creating pipelines, 3D printing, all things that could be done at home on a computer. But your mentors are also very flexible and willing to work with you. Like my mentor is willing to give me a 3D printer that I'll go pick up in Santa Barbara and do it at home and ship it to them. So they really get creative, especially with the situation still being the way it is a year later. So I think at basically any lab will adapt, but there's a lot of things you could do on your computer from home and still get a lot of experience.
Any other thoughts on that? Anybody else?
I can follow up on that. So for people asking in the chat, I was actually in a research lab before applying to these programs. So yes, you can choose your lab once you get accepted. So what I do is I did a lot of like construction stuff. So it was a really wet work heavy. So like Miranda said, it really transitioned more into kind of computational work and image analysis. And that's part of your research experience too. Some labs are like very wet lab heavy and others are more computational heavy, but both like they both require both. So like my project transitioned more to computational, and then later when I get back, I can do wet work as well. But right now, like in this COVID situation, especially in this like virtual internship, like most likely your mentor and you will like plan more of a computational type project, which can still be published and stuff like that. That's still like, you guys don't have to worry about that. It will get accomplished.
Thanks, Jeff. I think it's important that we all recognize that maybe the way that the projects are right now aren't necessarily ideal, but they still have a lot of value, and the students are getting, you know, getting valuable experiences out of it that are still useful for the labs. Like, it's not as if everybody's just doing busy work forever. There's actual value to what people are working on. So I had a question about letters of recommendation. And so I just wanted to, I see some great answers in the chat, but I just wanted to say that a lot of people are worried about letters of recommendation, especially if you're a freshman, especially after 2020, because it feels like it was hard to make connections. So the first thing to note is that we have a pretty broad policy on who we accept letters of recommendation from. So if you can get on our website, go to the FAQs on the program websites and read about the letters of recommendation. Essentially, it can be from a professor or a graduate student TA at UCSB in STEM classes or not STEM classes. It can be from, especially if you're a freshman, it can be a high school teacher. Even if you're a sophomore, if you haven't made connections, it can be from a high school teacher or mentor. It can be from your boss at your job or a volunteer coordinator. Basically, what we want is someone who's worked with you at some capacity, which either that means in the classroom setting, in an academic setting, or in a job setting, or in some other kind of experiential setting like research or internship. The main rules is that it can't be somebody you're related to, and it can't be your friend. So if you have any questions, or if you still feel unsure about asking people, you should email me and we can set up a time to talk about it. Okay, so people are asking on the application form, we ask you to, if you're in a lab, you just put the lab and you want to stay in that lab, you just list that professor and you're good to go. If you're not in a lab, we ask for 4 names. And so what we want you to do is go through your department website, or if you're interested in bioengineering, you go to the bioengineering website and find 4 faculty who you'd be interested in working with and give us their names. We don't contact them. It's not for external use. It's just to help us understand what you're interested in and help us try to figure out who you might be able to work with or what kinds of research you might want to do. We also have some faculty who are partners with us. And so they're explicitly saying, hey, can you help me find students? So if you're interested in working with the people that are listed on the application, all you got to do is put their name. There's no requirement. You don't have to put their name. Only add their name if you're interested. However, they are, those names of people are committed to taking a student. So if you're interested in working with them and you put their name down, it just makes it way easier for us to match you with them if you get accepted into the program. So hopefully that makes sense to people. Transfer student, yes, you can apply. So anybody here a transfer student currently? We usually have at least 1 or 2 transfer students in our programs, but you can definitely apply to Gorman, especially if you have, if you have a summer and at least 1 more academic year. If you have any questions about it, just send me an email. But transfer students are definitely welcome. Even if you're not currently at UCSB, but you're planning to transfer. It's a little trickier, but we've had it work before. Do research require any prior knowledge? So that kind of depends. We don't, for our end, we don't require any prior research experience. However, if you want to do research in bioengineering lab, but you're in aquatic biology, it might be pretty challenging because you might be missing some of the foundational knowledge. However, there's a lot of support from the faculty, especially for things like EUREKA, where they know that you're a freshman, they know you've taken 1, maybe 2 or 3 quarters of classes before you start working with them. And a lot of research they teach you as you go, especially in times like this where people are just adapting. And so a lot of it is everybody's learning. So the expectation is that you come willing to learn and you're teachable, not that you necessarily have all of this knowledge already. Yes, so someone asked if you can put your professor's name from any faculty at UCSB with a currently ongoing lab. Yes. Okay, so so can I ask the scholars, how did you think, like, what made you think that you wanted to get into research? Anybody who hasn't answered yet, it would be great, but what made you think that this would be a good experience for you, specifically applying to this program? Like, why did you decide to do this? What was it about research that intrigued you, and why did you want to get into this program? So anybody can answer that one.
I can answer that one. Well, for me, I think when I was a freshman, or even when I was in high school, I always wanted to be a doctor, or always wanted to go to med school. And I didn't have anything other than that. And as I took classes my freshman and sophomore year, I realized that some of my professors were doing research, and some of the things that we're doing were pretty interesting. And I started to realize that before going to med school, I wanted to try and be in a research lab, because that way I would be able to see whether I like doing research or not, and think twice of going into med school, because one is expensive, second is like 4 years and plus residency and whatnot. So I decided to apply to the program specifically because they were looking for people that had no research experience, and they were willing to learn and were excited about research. And at that moment, my sophomore year, I was feeling all that stuff. And so far, it's been a really great experience. I've learned a lot. I like research, and I would say at this point that I would maybe take research over med school, and that's just personal. But for me, doing research is essential before thinking of going into med school, because then I can decide whether or not I would really want to pursue that.
So helping you kind of refine and understand your options before making a decision. That's great, Octavio. Anybody else wanna take a stab at that one? Why research? Why this program?
Yeah, I can go. So adding on to Octavio's point, I was from a little bit of a different background. I was already in a lab before applying to the Gorman program. And I applied because when you're just an undergrad starting out in a lab, you don't have a lot of freedom to do stuff. Like, someone tells you what project you're on, and then your mentor tells you what to do on the day. But the Gorman and EUREKA programs are helpful because they give you resources to do an independent project with the help of other people. So it's kind of like stepping up and learning more about how to do research like independently than relying on someone telling you what to do.
So a little bit more independence, an ability to think about things on your own, which is something that you really want to start getting practice doing, because at some point you're going to graduate and then you're going to be in charge of thinking for yourself. So it's a great way to kind of build a skill set in that realm. So can I ask some of the scholars to talk about like putting together a resume? So how did you have a lot of experiences to put on your resume or CV when you applied? What kinds of things did you put on there? Anybody want to answer that if you remember?
Sure.
You can go ahead.
All right, thank you. So I was in the EUREKA program, or I am in the EUREKA program. So I was only a first year when I first applied, and I absolutely had no real experience that related to research at all. So I remember my resume was pretty dry. What I did put on there was just general lab experience and things that somewhat related to the field that I was kind of going into. So I put that the lab experience that I had in my AP chemistry class and general chem class, and just kind of leadership roles that I had beforehand.
Yeah, I mean, people put stuff, especially first years, they put like, I was drum major and marching band, you know, like it's like leadership, like whatever you got, you know, put it on there. It's okay. Like there's plenty of time to like, you know, we're not looking for a huge laundry list of different things that everybody's done, because especially if you're, you know, applying for one of these programs, most of the time people haven't had a lot of experiences, which is why they want to join one of these programs. So don't worry too much about trying to make, you know, some crazy resume or like, I don't have enough stuff. Put things on there. And I would really seek out resources online, the Career Center, CLAS, they have some resources about how to put together a resume and a CV. What are the differences? And so don't worry too much about it. It's just part of the application. It's not a make or break item at all. Let's see. So people are asking about page limit. So if you check out the statement of interest or the personal statement, there actually aren't any character or page limits. You're answering like for 3 to 5 questions, depending on which programs you're applying to. So what I would say is just have really think through your answers, make sure you're answering the question fully and you've given enough examples. But we're not saying, you know, people usually answer each question in a couple paragraphs. So, so yeah, no word constraints on that one. So I want to just ask all of the scholars, as we're kind of wrapping up, thank you so much to the scholars for answering questions in the chat. If people are still having questions in the chat, scholars are still here answering. But I wanted to kind of wrap up today to ask each of the scholars to go through and say, think of themselves at this time last year. What's one piece of advice you would give to a student who's kind of on the fence? They feel like maybe they're not qualified enough for this, or they, you know, they just don't know and it's just too much to do, or they don't feel like they have good people to write letters, or for whatever reason they're like on the fence. What would you say, thinking of yourself last year, in terms of encouragement or advice? Let's start with Dominic.
Yeah, so this is actually a good question because I felt the exact same way when I applied to Eureka my first year. I didn't have too much research experience at all. And I was like, well, who am I even, like, who's all applying? These people probably are in labs. They probably have all this experience and I don't. So I felt very discouraged and I almost didn't apply. But you kind of have to show you just kind of have to be passionate about what you're interested in and show your curiosity. You know, I knew that research was something that was really interesting to me, and I put aside the fear and I was like, okay, I'm just gonna apply. I'm gonna put it out there. If I don't get in, I don't get in, but I'm gonna put myself out there because who knows? And believe it or not, I got in. So yeah, I would just say, just kind of go for that push. I know it's very like you can be on the fence about it, but I really do think that you are more qualified than you think you are. So yeah.
Thank you, Dominic. Caroline.
I would say that if it was past me and I was worried about not being qualified for a research program, I would tell myself that this is a research program designed for people who are trying to get into research. So the fact that you don't know anything about research is actually good, because that means that you're what this program is made, like you're the person this program's made for, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I would second that and say that's absolutely true. Miguel.
Yeah, like I said, my resume was pretty lackluster, and I just wanted to point out too that my letter of recommendation was actually from my German teacher in high school. So there's, you know, even though you might not seem like you have any experience or know anyone who is doing anything research related, you should still put yourself out there. I mean, it's free, and you know, you might get lucky and get in.
Yes, it's free. It just costs a little bit of time. And I do want to say, somebody was asking, can you have people writing you letters? right, for different programs? Yes. Can you take your personal statement for one program and modify it for another? Yes. So you put a little time in and then you can spread it over a lot of opportunities. Octavio.
I probably would say something similar to Dominic. I almost didn't apply to the program. And that was because once I didn't have research experience, and I was scared that because of that, I was not going to be able to compete with the other scholars. But also, I was thinking about the time that it would take doing research and balancing my classes. And I don't know, I was just scared of like getting into the program and then not having enough time to do all my classes. And I was also like I mentioned earlier too, like I was set in stone to go to med school, and I was like, well, if I don't apply, I'm gonna go to med school, right? But the thing is, and my best friend, she's the one that encouraged me. She said, well, how do you, if you're not willing to take the risk for this right now, what's gonna guarantee you're gonna take the risk in med school, something that's more competitive, something that's more, I guess, difficult because of the strains are putting on you. So you should try it right now and go ahead and look at, like, forget about anything that's going to happen in the future. Just focus in the present, and then whatever comes next, you're going to figure it out. And so far it's worked out for me.
I love it. It's very like wholesome answer. Alan.
So, I mean, so when I applied to the Gorman Scholar as a second year going into my third year, and the year before I actually applied to EUREKA and didn't get in, which, you know, like devastated me at the time because I was like, damn, I'm not cut out for this type of stuff. What really made me apply again for Gorman specifically in my second year was the fact that if you stop at some point, like if you fail or you get rejected at some point of your journey, then you'll never be able to move on to the next part of it. Like what I mean by that is that had I not failed for the EUREKA and then felt really motivated to work on my app again, and then you know, get more feedback, do different things, and really like improve my resume, I never would have been able to have the chance of applying again for the Gorman Scholars Program. So like for my advice for people that are, you know, either applying for their first time or applying as a third year or whatever, my advice is to not be afraid, because failing or you know, sometimes you might get rejected. That happens. But you just have to accept that that's a part of the process, and that if you don't try, then you'll never know what you can do.
Wow, that was amazing, Alan. That was like, I'm low-key emotional right now. I really appreciate your response. Unfortunately, we're out of time, so I'm sorry to the other scholars. We didn't make it through. But I just want to invite anybody, if you have any last questions or comments, put them in the chat. Thank you so much, first off, to our scholars who made time. It's really great to hear about their experiences, really inspirational. Thank you to all of the students who came today. I know that it is 6 p.m. on a Friday, and so I really appreciate that you took the time out of your schedule to come. I just want to leave this slide up. Please email me if you have any questions. I'm sure we missed questions in here, or there were questions that were just like too specific to be able to answer for a larger group. I'm happy to answer your question over email, or we can even set up a time to meet. So please send me an email. I'm glad you're excited, Alexandria. We're excited too. And thank you again. Have a good night and a good weekend. Bye, everyone. Oh, yes, you can email anybody who's dropping their email in the chat. Email the scholars if you have questions. See you later. everybody is heading out. Wow, that cleared out really quick. Looks like Sam is here and Ariane. Did you guys have questions? Oh, Ariane's still here. Did you have a question? Okay, maybe he's like stepped away. Give me 1 second to stop